Hi. All that unfolded in America over the last 20 odd hours looks surreal sitting here. But it's a reminder for democracies all over the world that a democracy doesn't just magically sustain itself. It needs to be protected and defended each day, every day. My name is Anubha Bhonsle, and this is definitely newsworthy. The US Capitol is now secure, but four people are dead after violent supporters of Donald Trump, the still President of the United States of America, breached one of the most iconic buildings in Washington, D.C. The Congress was in session. US lawmakers were meeting to officially ratify Joe Biden's victory in the presidential election. In any other time, this particular day, this particular event is mostly a ceremonial one. But for days now, Trump has urged, scratch that, incited his supporters to fight this. So, this chaos, this act of domestic terror, this insurrection, as it's been called, was therefore expected. Armed civilians, some with Confederate flags, took over the building. They broke metal fences, they vandalized property. Some have been quoted as proudly breaching offices of lawmakers and making videos while doing so. Bombs were found in the Capitol grounds. Lawmakers had to be evacuated. They later came back once the Congress was secure. Let's be very, very clear. Donald Trump was crucial in instigating these riots. On the 14th of December, when the Electoral College confirmed Joe Biden's victory, Trump had tweeted that his supporters should march to Washington, D.C. on the 6th of January, guaranteed to be a day of wild protests. His election campaign, that is still very much alive, actually accepted donations and it funded this rally at a location chosen by Trump near the White House. 5 days ago, he tweeted he will be there for the rally on the historic day. Before this particular rally became a riot, Trump addressed the crowd and said, "We will never concede." After the violence broke out, Trump did ask his supporters to go back home, but not before saying that we love you, you are very special. Just last week, Washington Post published excerpts from a conversation between Trump and a senior Georgia election official in which Trump essentially demands that the missing votes that he did not win be found. He said, and I'm quoting this only because it's so absurd and so surreal. He said, there is no harm in saying, you've recalculated. And that didn't work. Trump tried another tactic. It's an absurd one, but on Twitter, at a rally in Georgia, and in hour-long private meetings, Trump said that the VP, Mike Pence, a good guy, should block the ratification of the votes today. Hours after what can only be called a failed coup attempt, the Congress officially certified Joe Biden's victory. Trump took to Twitter again to guarantee an orderly transition on Inauguration Day. How much those words mean? He also asked his supporters to keep the fight against voter fraud on. So net, there are still 13 days before Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are officially sworn in. 13 days before an unhinged president who set his mob on the US Capitol and demolished a long-standing tradition of peaceful transition of power exits the scene. The 25th Amendment and removing him are already being spoken about. But here's an important part of the story one needs to look out for. The Democrats have won the popular vote, the Electoral College vote. An increasing number of Trump loyalists and Republicans have crossed over. They've gained a majority in the Senate after winning Georgia. They already control the House of Representatives. And while the final tally of those votes reads 306 to 232 in the president-elect's favor, despite all these outrageous scenes that I mentioned that played out on the US Capitol, many Republicans still voted to uphold the fraudulent claims of election fraud. There's one more thing that's stunning here. And that is how the police treated this mob and how the police treated Black Lives Matter protests after the killing of George Floyd. Peaceful protesters in Washington, D.C. were tear-gassed, arrested, shot with rubber bullets. They were shot with real bullets as well. Scenes from yesterday's show the riot police largely absent. Videos, in fact, show the police being outnumbered in a matter of seconds, in some cases, opening barricades to let the mostly white rioters into the Capitol building as the lawmakers took cover. Only 52 people have been arrested. They are mostly for curfew violations. It's often been said in the Trump era that it's not a time to falter on vocabulary. So let's be very clear. This was not a protest. This was a mob incited by the president. The police were not incompetent, they were implicit. This is clearly a tale of a divided, polarized, and a broken America. A failed state, as the American press often refers to many other parts. It's a tale every democracy must remember. I'll leave it here. Thank you for your time.